Hey, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here with step 6 of how to achieve anything you want in under 2 weeks. How to get success in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve or what you want in under 2 weeks. The process is the same whether you're trying to create something really, really small like a cup of coffee, manifesting a cup of coffee, or creating $20,000, $100,000, losing 7 pounds by January 7th, whatever it is for you, whatever you've decided, because I'm sure by day 6 you've already selected and decided what your one thing is for this 14-day process and trial, or you still wouldn't be listening to me. You would have given up by now, but I know that you're here, so you are with me and you haven't given up, and you're plugging through the steps with me because you want to see for yourself the power of this strategy and this process. Again, not my strategy, not my process. Learned it from Think and Grow Rich, which you can see I've got my Post-it notes on it, by Napoleon Hill. Remember, this was written in 1937 after he had done 25 years of research with over 25,000 people, both the most successful people of his time and people that were not successful, maybe people that had a lot of formal education but were broke. You know, he studied a vaster range of people. This is probably my favorite step. Being an engineer and a pretty analytical, process-driven person by nature, that's one of my strengths. I find this chapter absolutely fascinating. It is, I believe, probably the longest and most meaty chapter in the entire book. It is the most specific in terms of step-by-step tactics and ideas in terms of what you really need to physically and mentally do. Most of the book is about your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs and overcoming fears and objections and things like procrastination and strategies to do that. But this is the chapter to me that has the most strategy and meat in it. And so I'm going to fly through it, just a summary of it, and share my thoughts as quickly as I can. There's parts of this that I'm actually using in other areas right now to help some of my coaching students. And I will share where you can get access to more detailed information and more resources in those as we go through the chapter. This chapter is called Organized Planning, and it's all about putting together the plan, the definite plan that will get you to whatever it is that you want. So, for example, I have got my definite plan for losing 7 pounds by January 7th, since that is the small goal that I am testing this process and procedure out on during this 14-day video series, just to pick something small that I can illustrate and use real examples for so that you can understand that it applies to everything, not just making money and creating a fortune and money like Napoleon Hill wrote about in Think and Grow Rich. It applies to absolutely everything in our lives. If you want an awesome relationship, you need to first decide you want an awesome relationship. You have to have faith and belief that you can achieve that awesome relationship, and then you need to follow the rest of the steps in line to actually make sure that that becomes a part of your life, your reality, and your existence. So let's dig right into organized planning. I'm going to sneak a drink of coffee because, like I said, it is a big chapter and there's a lot going on in it, and so I want to do it a pretty good service for you so that you can get an idea. Again, totally recommend that if you do not have this book, Google it, get a copy, run over to your local Barnes & Noble, order it on Amazon, do whatever you have to do. There's nothing in it for me for you to have this book, but I know how much and how powerful it can be in your life, and I think everybody owes it to themselves to have this book. It actually says on the cover, I didn't think that this many people had purchased this book, but it says 15 million sold worldwide. Now, let's keep in mind that the statistic along with books sold versus books read is really, really dismal. There might be 15 million copies that have been sold of this book, but I would wager a very large wager on the fact that maybe 1.5 million people, under 2 million people for sure, have actually read and consumed and done anything with the information in this book. I mean, I read this book 30 years ago or more, and for the most part, I didn't really do hardly anything with it. I read it, I thought it was an awesome book, and then I went about my daily life and pretty much forgot about it until we started doing it as part of a team that I'm on. And I am so grateful that we did, because I forgot all of the wisdom and all of the incredible material that's contained in this one book, one I don't know how many pages are in it. 302 with the index. So much wisdom and so much that so many gurus and teachers are teaching today as their own material. I just think it's fun to go through and share it. So again, the 6th step to riches, or the 6th step to whatever you want, the 6th step to achieving your goal in 14 days or less is organized planning. It's the crystallization of your desire into action. It's taking your idea, your big thing, your goal, and taking it from being just a hope or a want or oh, I might be able to make that happen, to putting the plan in place to ensure and guarantee that you will achieve what you want. Again, he talks about, in chapter 2, he discussed and we shared in Faith and Belief, the process that you need, the 6 definite steps to create what you want. And really, there's only 6 steps, but he describes it over a 14 or 13-step process because some things need emphasis. For example, me, I need all the help I can get when it comes to procrastination. And so there's a whole chapter coming up on procrastination and how to overcome procrastination. I guess that was probably one of the most valuable chapters for me personally, but this is the chapter that I resonate with, I can relate to, because it's in alignment with my belief systems and how I think things work already. So it's easy for me to understand and actually do the things that are in this chapter. I love planning. I love figuring out how to get from A to B and what steps are required. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And if I know what those are, and if I decide what those are, I only have to worry about taking the next step. I don't have to worry about step 10 or 11. I just have to deal with and consider and make moves forward and take action on step 1. And then when step 1's done, I go to step 2. And so I am one of those people that visually loves to have a written down, organized plan of action and knowing how I'm going to get from point A to point B, and that, yep, first I got to do step 1, then I got to do step 2. So he lays out that 6-step process, and again, it's, ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need to create and carry out your plan, whatever it is, or plans, whatever it is that you need to do to achieve that. It is going to take a mastermind of people. He goes on to say, decide what advantages and benefits it is to each of the mastermind members that you're inviting on your mastermind group to be a part of that group, a part of that team. People aren't going to work forever for free, or they're not going to contribute their knowledge and experience and information for free forever if there's nothing in it for them. And it's not necessarily monetary things that are in it for them. I've been part of lots of mastermind groups, and I don't think I've ever been paid. I have never been paid to be part of a mastermind group. And a mastermind group, your mastermind group is different than the team of people that you assemble to carry out your plans and actions. That they're totally different groups of people. Step 3 was to arrange to meet with your mastermind team at least twice a week. Maintain a perfect harmony between yourself and each of the mastermind members that you have on your team. And then keep in mind that you're engaged in an undertaking of major importance to you. And so your plans have to be excellent and faultless, and people have to know that you believe and are committed to and certain that what your goal is going to happen, so that they want to be a part of it. And then you must have the advantage of experience, education, natural ability, and imagination of other minds. You're not going to create anything of great value. You're not going to accumulate great wealth on your own. Now, I personally, the challenge that I'm taking for this 14 days is to lose 7 pounds by January 7th. That is something that I am 100% in charge of, and I actually can do it on my own. Now, if I had never gone on or tried to lose weight or been on a diet before or had any experience with that, the first thing I would do, and I already have done as a matter of fact, as part of my organized plan, is go online and research and find people that can be my virtual mastermind plan. I don't have to physically have people in my presence to be on my mastermind. I can create my own mastermind, and he shares this, I believe, in the last step of the process, second to the last step of the process, the invisible counsel. And I love this strategy, and I used it in my youth and forgot about it, and I've just recently been recharging it in my life, and it is so much fun. It helped me come up with an incredible idea to help people with chronic pain. I'm working with people with chronic pain, and I was struggling with a certain aspect of that work in terms of helping them to get all of the services and care that they need and having the financial wherewithal to do that. And I came up with an incredible idea by tapping into my virtual mastermind group of people. And so you can do that. So you can do that, or you can go online and model and get information on what's worked for other people that you believe, and intuitively, your gut will tell you whether it'll work for you or not. You know, there's so much advice about health and diet and weight loss online. I believe it's probably one of the biggest markets and the biggest areas online, behind pornography, of course, on the internet. And so there's tons of information available out there, and you have to be able to sift through and pick what will work for you and what won't. So I've created my own little organized plan with the help of research online, because losing weight or getting in shape or being healthy or changing your personal habits, only you can do that. Only I can do that. Nobody can lose 7 pounds for me. Boy, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? If you could figure out a way to lose weight for other people and transfer that weight loss to them, wouldn't that be awesome? That'd be even better than money, right? Or health, if you could give people health points. I guess there's games that you can do that in, but we haven't figured it out yet in reality. So maybe that's a cool overriding big picture objective or thing you want to achieve in your life. But I've done that. So I've broken my organized plan down into like 5 categories, 5 different things that I need to do, 5 steps, and some of them are things that I need to do every day for the 14-day period to ensure that I achieve my goal. So keep in mind that the majority of things that we want to accomplish in life, we don't do in a vacuum. We cannot do them on our own. Personal development things, we can because they're about our person. Losing weight, having better health, those things are things that we must do on our own because no one can do them for us. And another thing that Napoleon Hill reminds us of that we all know in our hearts and from personal experience is that we're going to fail. Everything we plan is never going to work out. I mean, I would say 90% of the things I've ever planned in my life never have gone according to plan. It's probably closer to 100%, but you know, we don't ever want to admit that. We like to focus on our successes, not on our failures. But the truth is, we never learn anything from our successes. If I plan something out and it goes 100% according to plan and I achieve and get that done, that's awesome. But guess what? I haven't learned anything. All I'm doing is I'm repeating something that I've done in the past that I know will guarantee my success, and I'm doing that over and over and over again. But it isn't until I face obstacles or challenges or people trying to stop me or lack of resources or whatever it is, given whatever kind of a project I'm trying to do, that I have to learn and get creative and figure out how to go around those obstacles so I can show the world and the universe that I am serious about creating what I'm wanting to create, that I am serious about changing my little piece of the world in whatever way that I can. And the universe and the world and people around us will test us. They're put in our path to find out if we really want something or not. And if we quit, guess what? They win. If we keep going and we find another way and we come up with another plan and a new approach, which there's infinite ways of approaching things, then we win. We always win. And we will eventually achieve whatever it is we're trying to achieve. It might not be in 14 days, but guess what? It might be in 16 days. So if you worked at something for 14 days and voila, you fell a little short of your goal, would you quit? Or would you say, I am so close. What's the next thing I need to do to make sure that this happens? Well, if you're like most people, you'll quit and you'll be sidetracked and you'll go on and you'll do something else and you'll never achieve your goal. But if you're like the few that read Think and Grow Rich, that know that anything is possible and believe in themselves enough, you'll overcome that. And guess what? On day 16 or day 17, you'll get what you want. And then you'll go on to the next thing. Because as human beings, we're always going to create something bigger and greater. We're designed to want to create and be more, do more, have more. It's built into our human beingness. You know, Thomas Edison, 10,000 times to make a light bulb. Come on, people. How many of us would have tried anything? How many of us have ever tried anything 10,000 times? Maybe super duper pro athletes have practiced and done something 10,000 times to perfect it. Masters do things over and over and over and over again, the basic things, to achieve mastery and success, and not perfection, but to continually improve and be the best that they can be. You know, I can't say that I would have tried 10,000 times on an experiment to create something like Thomas Edison did. I mean, I'm pretty stubborn and I'm pretty persistent and I'm pretty stick-to-itiveness and creative, but you know, 10,000 times, man, that's a lot. That is a lot of no's. That is a lot of doors slammed in your face. That is a lot of, you know, sorry, you're wrong. This isn't going to work, and a lot of doubt and negativity to be thrown at you. But what if he'd quit at 9,997? What if he'd quit at 9,999? What would our lives and our world be like if that had happened? It would be, I don't know, pretty dismal, pretty different, that's for sure. So this chapter is all about having a sound plan. And again, you're going to make that plan, you're going to have that plan, you're going to start to create that plan, and probably day 2 of that plan, something's going to happen that you have to figure out another way, or you have to tweak or be flexible on what that plan is to make sure that you're moving toward your goal and what you want to achieve. The most important thing about plans is that they're flexible and they're contingent on the outcomes and the results that you get from each step of that plan. So if you don't get the result you need, well, then you got to go back and tweak what you did to try to get the outcome that you need before you move on to the next step. Oh, yeah, and he says that no follower of this philosophy can reasonably expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. We all experience temporary defeat. When defeat comes, accept it as a signal that your plans are not sound. Rebuild those plans and set sail once more toward your coveted goal. If you give up before your goal has been reached, you are a quitter. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. That's probably one of the most famous quotes from this book and the most requoted quotes from this book. There's several. I mean, there's hundreds of quotes in this book that have gone all around the world, thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and are tweeted and Facebook shared and memed to death. And that is one of the most common, I believe. I love this too. Some people foolishly believe that only money can make money. I was married to one of them. This is not true. Despite excuse me, I better use my magnifying glass. Desire transmuted into its monetary equivalent through the principles laid down here in this book is the agency through which money is made. Money of itself is nothing but inert matter. It cannot move, think, or talk, but it can hear when one who desires it calls it to come. Remember, money is just paper. Nowadays, it's just numbers on a computer. It's just a tool that we use as an exchange. It's an exchange medium that we use to create other things that we want. He goes on through this chapter to talk about several areas of organized planning, and I'm not going to go into the details of all of these because I would be talking for at least a 4 to 8 hour workshop. And I'm sure nobody wants to listen to me talk for 4 to 8 hours on organized planning. As fascinating as I find the subject, most people do not find planning and organizing that fascinating. But he talks about planning the sale of services, your personal services, planning how to get your dream job, your ideal job, how to create and sell products and services, and all the different strategies that are necessary and really make it fast and easy to create each of those type of businesses or services, whatever it is that you want to achieve as your goal in your life. But I'm not going to go into the details of those. He talks a lot also in this chapter about a couple of things that I do want to share, and I'm just going to touch on them. I'm not going to share all the details because there's so much in here and there's so much to think about with each of these things. Again, I could spend probably a month on this chapter alone, just delving into it, studying it, understanding how it applies to me personally, and then you would need to do the same. How does this affect me? Is this me? Does this make any sense to me? Is this something important that I need to keep in mind or use going forward in my strategy to achieve whatever it is that I want? So he talks about the major attributes of leadership. And I'm just going to share what these are. He's got 11, and I may or may not comment on them. I don't have much time, so I don't want to take up all your time. The major attributes of leadership are unwavering courage, self-control, a keen sense of justice, definiteness of decision, definiteness of plans, the habit of doing more than paid for. This is one of my favorite things, and it's incredible to me how many people, and somebody really close to me recently just said, well, I got this job, but I'm not going to do anything more than they're paying me for. And I had to bite my tongue to not say, well, then you're never going to get more, and you're never going to get more responsibility, you're never going to get more money, you're never going to get an advancement if you don't do more than what you're being paid for. That's the whole minimum to get by philosophy, and if that's your philosophy, you won't achieve great things in life because everybody else is doing the minimum to get by. Everybody else is just chugging along and doing the minimum. If you want to stand out and be the person that you're supposed to be, you're always doing your best at whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, and no matter how much money you're getting paid in exchange for that. You have to give more than you receive in order to create more and to receive more in the future. It's just a law of the world and a law of nature. And we can't fight universal laws or laws of nature. They are the way energy and the world works. It's not like, a speed limit law or something that you can break and the consequences aren't dire because it's a man-made law. Laws of nature, nobody gets to break them. They apply to everyone equally, and you're just bound by living and adhering to them. And you can choose not to, but then you also are choosing the consequences of not adhering to the natural laws. Just like if you're choosing to speed, you may or may not get caught, but if you get caught, then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of paying that ticket. But with natural laws, the consequences might mean your life. If you say, oh, I don't believe in, and gravity is a physical law, so that's probably not the best example, but it is a law of nature of our planet, is that we have gravity. So if you jump out of a 20-story building or off a 20-story building, guess what? You are going to die. Gravity is going to kill you whether you believe it or not. All right, enough on that. Another major attribute of a leader is you need to have a pleasing personality. People don't follow assholes unless they're being paid to follow them. And then at the first better opportunity they get, they will usually move on to a better opportunity because they're not loyal to you. They don't have any reason to want to be a part of your organization and your goals. Sympathy and understanding. I would say empathy and understanding, not necessarily sympathy, but that's my version of it. Mastery of details. You have to be detail-oriented, or you have to have someone that you're working closely with and trust that can manage the details and help with the details. Willingness to assume full responsibility. As a leader, you are 100% responsible for everything that anyone that reports to you or works for you does. As a corporate leader, it didn't matter if one of my frontline quality technicians made a mistake. Guess what? If they made a mistake or didn't follow a process or procedure, I was ultimately responsible for that. As a leader, you ultimately take responsibility for everything, both the failures and successes of the group as a group, and deal with the consequences or rewards of that. And that's just it. It's personal responsibility and leadership responsibility. That's one of my, again, personal pet peeves. It's like nobody can be responsible for us, and so many people just want to blame everything else in the world or around them or other people or situations or circumstances for what's going on in their life, when bottom line is it's always up to us. It's always up to us to choose, to decide, to be responsible, and to make decisions and choices that are in our best interest. And the last one is cooperation. Nobody wants to work with a leader that isn't cooperative or is just a dictator. There's two types of leadership, or there's more than two, but according to Napoleon Hill and a lot of people, there's two types of leadership. There's leadership by consent, and there's leadership by force. Leadership by force, dictators. Nobody wants to be under a dictator or a dictatorial leader. Nobody wants to be coerced or scared into doing things. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership. Again, I'm going to run through these quickly. And just note, if, I have to ask myself, am I guilty of any of these things? And I have to ask myself, how do I rank myself on these leadership attributes? Because leadership is more than just being a business leader or having a job or a position. Sure, you get automatic leadership points for being a leader in an organization, and it doesn't have to be a job. It could be a church organization. It could be a club. It could be a hockey or a sports club. It could be anything. It can be just a group of friends. Maybe you're the leader of your group of friends. And so when it comes time to plan and organize outings and excursions and events and activities that your group of friends want to do, you're the one that plans and organizes it all because you're the leader. So again, ask yourself, am I actually guilty of any of these 10 major causes of leadership failure? Inability to organize details, unwillingness to render humble service, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know. Lots of egotistical people are guilty of that. Lots of well-educated people are guilty of that particular lack of leadership. They believe that, oh, I have a doctorate, therefore I should get paid because I have a doctorate, not because I'm using that doctorate to make the world a better place or to teach other people how to make the world a better place. Fear of competition from followers. I have worked for several bosses in my corporate career that were scared to death of, me doing a good job, which is really, really interesting. Lack of imagination, selfishness, intemperance, followers that don't show control in any area of their life that becomes visibly recognizable by team members or people that they lead, will lose respect of that team and will not lead very long. That's a huge failure. And that can be any kind of substance abuse, any kind of behavioral abuse. For example, intemperance in sexual behavior. If you're behaving in a way that isn't moral to the people that are following you, they're probably not going to follow you very long. Disloyalty. If you're disloyal to your folks, guess what? They're not going to be loyal to you. Emphasis on the authority of leadership in your position is a major failure of leadership. And then emphasis on title. If you have to tell everyone how important you are and that you've got this cool title, then you are failing as a leader, and you probably aren't a leader or won't be a leader for very long. And I love this. He goes on to say in 1937 that there's areas where this new leadership is required. And what I find fascinating is it's still required in these exact same areas today. So obviously we haven't mastered leadership in the areas of politics, the financial industry itself, businesses and industry, big businesses, religion, law, medicine, education, and journalism and the media. I'm sure I could go off on a rant about this topic for about an hour, but I will save you all of that and not do it. But it's just interesting that even back in 1937, the same areas that we're dying and starving for leadership in are the same as the ones that we were dying and starving for leadership in, and there's opportunities for leadership in back in 1937 when this was first published. Again, then he goes on to say when and how to apply for a perfect position as part of organized planning, and all the details of like job hunting, getting your ideal job, and how to get the exact position that you desire and that you want. And he gives a step-by-step process of how to do that and how to create the plan to do that and what you need to do. And then he talks about that marketing services and selling services is more about partnerships and positioning yourself than it is about getting a job. He talks about the QQS rating, and I love this because I was a quality manager for 25 years, and so quality to me is super important. And it talks about understanding your personal QQS rating and how you provide value to, he's doing it with respect to getting a job here, but it's with respect to anything that you do. It's the quality of the service and the performance of every detail of what you're providing and putting out in the world. It's the quantity of the service and the habits of giving all that you've got. Again, I'm not going to get paid for it, so I'm not going to do any more than I'm being paid for. It's the whole, I have to give if I want to receive. I have to give more value, or I have to perform at the level of the job I want. So if I want, say I'm in corporate America because I spent a lot of time there. If I want to get my boss's job or my boss's boss's job. Say I want to be the president of the company instead of the, corporate quality director. Well, then I need to perform at the level and do my job at the level, all the details of that job and the quantity of that job, the amount of work that I do, that is at least as much as our president is doing if I hope to achieve that role or that job someday. And then the final, the S in the QQS, so it's quality, quantity, and spirit. The spirit of service that you're providing is critical. And Andrew Carnegie is one that really emphasized this, and there's a lot of people that do nowadays, but it's what's the spirit with which you're showing up? How are you showing up to provide your quality and quantity of service? No matter how awesome and terrific you are at doing a job and performing that job, if you suck to work with because you have a bad spirit and you don't want to work in harmony with other people, then you're not going to get very far in life or in a job or anywhere, because people want to be around people that make them feel good. So if you're providing your high quality, your excellent quantity of service with the spirit of harmony and positivity and making the world a better place, that's how you define your QQS rating. Again, he goes into the capital value of services and how to figure out what those are. And then the 30 major causes of failure. And I want to share these, but to be honest, on my Customers Catcher Facebook page, I am doing a major cause of failure a day Facebook Live video. I just finished day 20 before filming this. So you can go to Facebook and do a page search for Customers Catcher, CUSTOMERS, CATCHER. And the Customer Catchers page has all of those videos there for you, and you can check those out. If you are not going to show initiative and don't want to do that, you can comment below, and I will find a way to get you a link to all those videos. Again, I'm only on 20, so they're not all done yet, so you might have to wait for 10 days till I finish them up to get the link with all of the links on. But if you want them right now and you're going to show initiative, which I would highly recommend that you do, go check out those videos and find out what the 30 major causes of failure are. And we're only on day 20, but I got to tell you, I think I'm guilty of like 19 of the 20 so far at some point in my life. Of course, I'm not doing all of them now, but yeah, so far I see myself in a lot of those. And I think that's really, really valuable. If you can go through something and you can say, okay, I've done this in the past and this is why it gave me the results I didn't want. And so I'm learning from that and I'm not going to do it in the future. Like I said, procrastination's on that list. Ho, big one for me. And today's, for example, was lack of concentration of effort. Yeah, we're all affected by the shiny syndrome, the shiny object syndrome, and we all get detracted and deflected from what it is that we need to do. But go ahead and check those out on Customer Catcher, and I will not share all of them today because there's so much more still in this chapter. He also shares an awesome inventory, a personal inventory of 28 questions that you can ask yourself and should ask yourself, and especially, people always wait till the end of the year and they ask themselves questions and they do a little personal inventory and they say, okay, what happened in this previous year and what am I going to do in the next year? I want to challenge you to not just do that. Go ahead and do that if that's one of your projects and habits and that's what you do. But you need to be taking a personal inventory a lot more often than once a year. I personally take a personal inventory when I go to bed at night. I lay down, and part of my going to sleep ritual or habit is I ask myself, what went really awesome today? What was less than optimal today? Because believe me, shit happens every day. Talk about shit happening. Yesterday was a doozy. And I asked myself, okay, what was good about this day? What was bad about this day? What could I have done differently? How could I have shown up differently to create a different outcome? And to be honest, lots of days, it wouldn't have mattered how I showed up. Stuff was still going to happen. But I can always control my reaction to how what happens around me affects me or doesn't affect me. So I would invite you to check out that personal inventory. The questions are excellent. Number one, have I attained the goal that I established for myself for this year? And here he does do this as an annual thing, but I would say, like I said, I do it every day. Have I achieved, and I don't have to achieve my whole overall objective, but my question for myself at night is, did I do the one thing today that I committed to myself that I would get done today? I try to pick one main thing, one thing I'm going to do each day to move me toward my big goal or my objective. I ask myself, did I do that? Either I did it or I didn't do it. Did I achieve it? Either I achieved it or I didn't achieve it. If I did not achieve it, why didn't I? And what am I going to do to make sure I achieve it tomorrow? That's my process. Again, 28 awesome questions, very thought-provoking, and I guarantee they will take you a while to go through if you're answering them honestly and being 100% honest with yourself. And guess what? You don't have to be 100% honest with other people, and you don't have to share everything with other people, but you do have to be 100% honest with yourself, and you do have to commit to understanding yourself better than anything. Another extremely fascinating, wonderful example is about, he gives an example about how we live today and how capitalism and industry has made that possible, and is actually the only thing that makes that possible. Now, if you're listening to me, and you probably are because I'm talking to you, I'm not going to answer this. That's the ex-husband calling. Twice, of course. He always calls twice. And he'll probably call again if he doesn't leave a message. Doesn't matter. I'm going to finish my Facebook Live. And he talks about capitalism being capital being the miracle that's made all of these things possible. The fact that we can go to the refrigerator and take out food from all different parts of the world. That food, if you just imagine the foods and the things that we have available, and he talks just in the categories of food, shelter, and clothing. The clothing we have. Okay, we all have clothes. I think this scarf is probably from Indonesia or something. The sweatshirt from, I don't know, let's say China. How on earth, if we didn't have capitalism, would we have access to any of this, any of these food sources, anything that we have access to today? It's a miracle, and it is all because of capitalism. Someone, deployed the ships and the railroads and the barges or whatever they come from China. Capitalists and capitalism is what's made all of what we are free to experience every day, and it's miraculous, people. It's miraculous to me that I have Post-it notes on a little palette, that I have a magnifying glass. Think of how much harder my life would be and how much I'd be struggling if I didn't have the magnifying glass and that. Now, this was somebody's idea. Once upon a time, this started as an idea. This specific magnifying glass was someone's idea. It's got this cool little light on it. And somebody transmuted and created this physical product, but it started as an idea. And that's what this is all about. But he talks about, and it's amazing examples that he gives in here about capitalism and the law of economics and how we're all bound by the law of economics. I would argue that the law of economics is a man-made law. And I don't know that he differentiates that in here because he says it's a law of nature, or it's an application of a law of nature, which I do agree with. But the whole principle is really, really fascinating. And I love this. He says, and I'm going to read it because I want it to be from him. Opportunity has spread its wares before you. Step up to the front, select what you want, create your plan, put the plan into action, and follow through with persistence. Capitalistic society will do the rest. You can depend on this much. Capitalistic society guarantees every person the opportunity to provide useful service and to collect riches in proportion to the value of the service. The system denies no one this right, but it does not and cannot promise something for nothing. The law of economics itself irrevocably controls the system that neither recognizes nor tolerates for long getting without giving. There ain't no free lunch, people. Might as well face up to that fact. The law of economics was passed by nature. There is no court to which violators of this law may appeal. The law hands out both penalties for its violation and appropriate rewards for its observance without interference or possibility of interference by any human being. The law cannot be repealed. It is fixed as the stars in the heavens and subject to and a part of the same system that controls the stars. So he is connecting the law of economics with the laws of nature. Again, that's for you to decide whether that's true or not. And he goes and he finishes by saying, these observations are not founded upon short-term experience. They are the result of 25 years of careful analysis of the methods of both the most successful and the most unsuccessful men in America has known. And again, remember, 1937, he was only studying men and successful men. It's interesting to note that he says one of the major reasons for success, though, is a good woman with the man. So I will go ahead and say that that's very, very true. If you have a partner or somebody that helps you to be successful, and I'm sitting on the fireplace with a television set. Don't ask. The fireplace is not on, of course. So that's the crux of organized planning. And again, if you want more information on this, go ahead and message me, and I'd be glad to share more detail and more information. Check out the major causes of failure, because I think that's super valuable. Like I said, I hate to admit that I see myself in so many of those, and I'm going to wrap it up today, and I will see you with step 7 tomorrow. And I'm trying to decide if I want to give you a sneak peek idea of what it is, but I think... No, there's a huge one for me because it deals with the remedy for procrastination. So if you procrastinate like I do, stay tuned, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.